One of my favorite principles to understand St. Joseph and even Jesus is like father, like son. And so when I was thinking about today's gospel, in light of this consecration to St. Joseph program, it got me thinking about what life would have been like for Joseph as a role model for Jesus. And so I was thinking, okay, imagine Jesus. He's like 9 years old. He's in the carpenter shop with Joseph. And Jesus says to his dad, "Hey, Dad, what was life like in Egypt? Any cool stories?" And so Joseph says, "Well, son, as you know, when we got to Egypt, we were really poor. And so we were in search of somewhere to stay. And thanks be to God, we found this Jewish community that welcomed us and they took care of us. And we really felt like this was a safe place, like this was a place where God lived. And we felt like we finally found like one place in Egypt where like the Father was truly with us. So we felt so blessed." One day as we went out into the marketplace and we were getting food for the community to come back home for the Sabbath day, we walked back and the community, the square that we were in was full of these Egyptians. And we looked what was going on, and they were setting up these altars. And there were idols there on these altars. And I was just outraged because I thought this was like the one safe place to raise you and your mother. And so I felt like the royal blood of David is boiling up in me. I was getting furious at this sight that this was about to take place in our midst. And so, the tassels that we have as Jews, I took them into a whip and I said these words. I said, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." And I drove all those people out of the home. And it didn't go very well. We had to get kicked out of the area, but we eventually found another place to live. But I was not going to expose you and Mary to any of this idol worship. This had no place in our life. I could just imagine Jesus, like in that moment, like his jaw drop, and I could just see him like run into the kitchen and be like, Mommy, my dad is an idol smasher. Like, he is so cool." And just bragging about Joseph to Mary. And then Jesus, like, turning to Joseph, like, "Daddy, you are my hero. I want to be just like you when I grow up." And so this principle, like father, like son, I think when we look at some of the actions that Jesus does, like Jesus is just so brave and courageous in today's gospel. It's like, where did he learn how to do this? Like father, like son. I think Joseph must have been a role model for Jesus in doing these really courageous acts. And so although we know like Jesus is God, so in his divine nature, he did not need anything from Joseph, Jesus is also fully man. And so in his human nature, Jesus needed a lot. Jesus needed so much that he spent a good 20 to 30 years learning from Joseph what it's like to be a man. So Jesus went to Joseph for all of his physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual needs in his human nature. He went to Joseph. So I can just imagine Jesus growing up and especially after this little episode, learning how brave his dad was in Egypt, Jesus just constantly thinking, in any need that he had, immediately he must have thought in his mind, go to Joseph. Go to Joseph. Everything, 100% of his needs, I think Jesus growing up, go to Joseph. And he must have felt so taken care of. So Joseph taught Jesus how to be a man. He provided for all of his needs, everything that he needed. And so just as this happened for Jesus growing up, and he spent a long time learning from Joseph, going to Joseph, why should it be any different for us? If this is what Jesus did, and Jesus is setting the path for us about what life should be like, And he spent a good 20, 30 years learning from Joseph, going to Joseph every day. The same should be for us. And for us, it's like our culture is like Egypt. It's just a place that pulls us away from God in every direction. And even ourselves, we can feel like these temples that we heard in today's gospel, where we go into the temple and it's just a zoo. Like, you see these money changers, you see all these wild animals. You can feel like if you look interiorly and you're just silent for a little bit, you feel like, I don't know if I want to go in there. Like, it's kind of a scary place to go at times. But Jesus gives us the direction by saying, go to Joseph. And so we need to go to Joseph. This is what the saints constantly tell us. Teresa of Avila. I love this quote from Padre Pio. I just read it this week because I'm learning so much about Joseph. I'll just quote it for you. It's such a great quote from Padre Pio. And like, if Padre Pio says anything, you should take it as advice. He's so amazing. Pretty much he says, Saint Joseph, with the love and generosity with which he guarded Jesus, so too he will guard your soul. And as he defended Jesus from Herod, so he will defend your soul by the fiercest Herod, the devil. All the care that the patriarch Saint Joseph has for Jesus, he has for you, and will always help you with his patronage. He will free you from the persecution of the wicked and proud Herod, and will not allow your heart to be estranged from Jesus. Ite ad Joseph, go to Joseph with extreme confidence, because I, like Teresa of Avila, do not remember having asked anything from Saint Joseph without having obtained it readily. Simply put, the saints tell us, go to Joseph, go with him with confidence. Like, in the goodness of a father, go to Joseph. So in any needs we have, like, you could think right now, like, okay, what's the biggest need that I have right now? Maybe there's something personally, okay? Like a personal addiction or struggle. Go to Joseph for that. There's probably a relational struggle, someone in the family, a relative, a friend. There's a real struggle in some relationship. Go to Joseph. Or maybe just something in your past history, like a past sin that keeps coming back. And you're wondering, how do I deal with this? I want to be set free from all my past struggles. Go to Joseph. It's so simple, just 3 words. In any need that you have, you're not called to do it alone. And so often when we think of Lent's like we're trying to take on new things, and we feel like this is all about me, and then this is starting the 3rd week of Lent, and all of us feel like I can't do it anymore. Go to Joseph. Just as Jesus grew up going to Joseph for all of his needs, he wants us to imitate him and do the same. So in this Lent, we don't have to be spiritual orphans. We don't have to do it by ourselves. We can go to Joseph and trust that we have a good Father in Joseph who wants to supply all of our needs, take care of us, and father us. Ite ad Joseph, go to Joseph.